There was no result to announce. No one had dared to take him on. Labour's bigwigs gathered for the formal announcement of an uncontested election.
We're here for a special conference. It feels like the sort of last day of term a bit today, doesn't it? Maybe we'll go and have a water fight later out the back, if anyone's up for that.
Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, like so many others, moved into Andy Burnham's orbit over recent months.
Good luck.
And could now be his choice for Chancellor.
There being no other eligibly nominated candidate, it is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you so much, friends. What a moment. I am ready. I am ready. Ready to lead and to build on the foundation laid by one person more than any other. Today we thank Keir for his service to our party and to our country.
The man who'd been leader of the party until a minute earlier decided he didn't want to hear that in person. Keir Starmer skipped this handover event. Andy Burnham said the party must avoid infighting. And he referenced a much-repeated joke which has clearly got under his skin about a Blairite, a Brownite and a Corbynite walking into a bar and the barman saying, "Hi, Andy."
In future, when a Burnhamite walks into a bar, I want the barman to say, "Great to see you. We don't like factional politics in here." I have supported all our Labour leaders in my lifetime because I believe a united Labour Party and Labour movement is the best hope for our country.
Andy Burnham said he will stick to promises in Keir Starmer's general election manifesto. He said the scale of his changes would eclipse the reforms of the last 2 years and many other predecessors too.
As your leader, I will set a direction that is distinctively Labour. We won't try to out-green the Greens or out-reform reform. We win by being us. Boldly, confidently, authentically us. Labour. That's how we win. This change today is the most significant change moment in our politics for 40 years.
Not long before he spoke, a removal lorry made its way into the Downing Street back entrance. Andy Burnham's team had asked Keir Starmer's for more time before taking over, but he insisted he was ready for number 10.
I have a plan. And what I also want you to know is that I won't change. I have a style. It's my style. I will always stay close to the ground, close to the people.
His very different style on show as he took the applause to a track from one of his favourite bands. Different members of the audience thought they heard him whistling their political tunes. Are you hoping that this change of leader means you move a little bit leftward on the dial, a bit more redistribution maybe than you had before?
I mean, I think, obviously, I'm from the left of the party. I think we're going to have to look at taxation, and, you know, Andy said that himself, like, there might be some people that have to pay a little bit more. We're in a difficult situation. And yeah, I mean, like, obviously we want that to be as fair as possible.
Are you hoping that you're going to get some positive news from your point of view on North Sea oil pretty soon?
Well, I think there are communities across Scotland that want to see a more balanced approach when it comes to oil and gas.
Has he tipped you the wink you're going to get that?
Well, look, I think it's clear that we are going to see a reset of some kind.
Andy's economically radical. He's not socially conservative in the sense that I am.
But he's in that direction a bit.
But his roots are family and community.
You wouldn't call him woke, would you?
I wouldn't call him woke, thank God.
He now wants new order restored after an insurrection that has seen some of Keir Starmer's cabinet members working for his nemesis. Keir Starmer must have looked around his cabinet table for a few months now and noticed that some people keep popping up in Andy Burnham's circle and seem to owe loyalty to someone else.
I would say, look, I mean,
you included, some would say.
Well, when we had a set of results like May, there was obviously a reaction to that. people went looking,
went shopping.
Well, the contest began in some ways when obviously some colleagues made statements about wanting a change of leadership. Yes, I wouldn't say it's been a normal period.
I love the South as well as the North. Come on.
His first visit as leader was to Gravesend in Kent, where Reform UK have made serious advances, chosen to show his readiness for the political fight.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Please come back, please come
back. I will.
And how his sympathies stretch beyond the north.
Well, as that event at the TUC headquarters in London was finishing, I spoke to Lucy Powell, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, and I asked her about that monumental change that Andy Burnham was promising.
He's got big ideas. He's got a big plan. He's been thinking about this for a long time, and I think what he's made clear actually over recent weeks anyway is this big, massive redistribution of power around the country, and that is big, and I don't think that anyone should underestimate that.
Is there an acknowledgement in this that change, the big word on the front of your manifesto, the thing you promised back in 2024, you just haven't delivered?
Well, I think we've laid really strong foundations for that. We have delivered change.
But you got it a bit wrong.
It's been tough. People maybe haven't seen it in their everyday lives.
They needed
but
more.
I think, of course, that's what we accept. Of course, people are desperate for that change to be realised in their communities, in their lives, much more than they have so far felt it.
I was very struck, most significant in 40 years. That's going back to the Thatcher era.
Because
Tony Blair under-delivered as well, by the sound of it.
He's talking about a different economic and political model.
And Tony Blair and Gordon Brown failed to do it.
Well, no, that's his vision. That's what he's trying to do.
He made a point of saying he's got a plan.
Yeah.
Because he really needs to reassure people about that, doesn't he? The normal way of British politics over history was for parties to come in from opposition. Everybody knew what brief they were doing. Everybody was ready. This time they're not going to hear what job they're getting until Monday, and they're going to be handed some sort of plan. Some people think it's not a cooked plan.
No, I don't agree with that. I think that we've got the strong foundations. We've got our manifesto. There's still a lot of important things in our manifesto too. And Andy's been really clear, I think, throughout this process that he wants to see this radical rewiring, this shifting of power outside of Westminster into every community, but also to change the way in which some of the things that we rely on most, whether that's local buses, local trains that you talked about today, whether it's water, whether it's energy, he wants to see those things bearing down on the cost of living, but also working for ordinary people and not in service of vested interest and the shareholders.
He said that he wants the party to be united. It doesn't feel that united when you talk to certain MPs.
I think this has been actually and I said that in my introduction, I think this could have gone horribly wrong, this process, and left a lot of bad and ill feeling, and it hasn't.
Next week, maybe.
We've all come together, everybody backing Andy Burnham, all as one team, and that's great.
This time next week, maybe, there'll be about 300 people who are hugely disappointed, thought they might get a job.
I think we'll be okay.
He said at one point, I have supported all Labour leaders in my lifetime.
Yep.
If Keir Starmer was sitting in Chequers watching this, it's notable he hasn't come here, he might quibble with that.
Look, I think Andy has supported all the Labour leaders. I've worked with Andy for many, many years.
Keir Starmer will be laughing.
I first met Andy 25, 30 years ago, and I think that is true to say. Look, Keir decided to stand down. He's resigned.
I think a few of you put some pressure on him to do that.
Look,
wasn't where he wanted to go.
As I've said before, when you're a football manager, when you're a manager, when you're a leader of a party, if you lose the dressing room, it becomes a challenge. And that was the decision that Keir took. And Andy's now stood and been elected as our next Labour leader. And it's been actually a very unifying and consensus-building process. And I'm really happy about that. Thank you.
Lucy Powell talking to Gary there. Now, after taking over the leadership of the Labour Party, Andy Burnham's next very public steps will be through the Downing Street door on Monday. But in his vow to be a Prime Minister for all corners of the UK, he's also hoping to spend time at what has been described as a new number 10 in the North. Well, in the North is our North of England correspondent, Claire Fallon, joining us from Manchester. Claire.
Well, Jackie, those ambitious plans and promises we've been hearing from Andy Burnham about all of the things that he wants to change, as big and bold you may well think, as those shiny towers stretching up now into the sky above Manchester and seen as kind of symbolic of how this city has bucked the trend when it comes to growth and productivity. And you just have to look around you here to see how Manchester has changed from infrastructure and transport to industry and business and culture too, with big new venues that have gone up. A detail I should point out, actually, a lot of the groundwork for this stuff was put in decades before Andy Burnham became the mayor of Greater Manchester. Detail is what he is now being pressed for. But one thing we have had a bit more detail on, these plans for number 10 in the north, shifting some of Downing Street to Manchester. So I've been talking to people who know him, people who've worked with him, to find out what it might mean. Not just a city, but a blueprint for Burnham's Britain.
This is Manchesterism. It is a vision for good growth.
Key to the soon-to-be PM's plan, the decentralisation of power and moving part of number 10 to the north.
I'm afraid I think this is a gimmick, along with his use of this phrase Manchesterism, whatever that actually is.
I think it's a really important game changer.
It's going to need a huge amount of resource up here to make sure that it's a meaningful thing. I don't think it's a gimmick.
One of Manchester's biggest property developers. When Tim Heatoney was made chair of the mayor's charity tackling homelessness, it raised some eyebrows. But according to him, it's evidence of a doing things differently approach from Andy Burnham.
I think a Manchester thing is challenging convention. It's trying to be pioneering and to try and be entrepreneurial. So I'd like to think that number 10 North will bring a lot of that thinking.
Is there a risk that you essentially have two centres of gravity pulling in different directions and ultimately the bigger force will be London?
That is a risk, I think. I think it's going to be really important for the civil servants and Westminster and the whole system really to get behind the big vision, and if they want to frustrate it, I'm sure they could.
Doesn't look like much at the moment, but this site on the edge of Manchester city centre, which used to be a retail park with a big Toys R Us, is expected to become the home of number 10 North, and what Andy Burnham describes as the nerve centre for a rewired Britain. With pre-existing plans for a Manchester digital campus here. That's why the diggers are already in, with almost 9,000 people from multiple UK government departments due to work at the Ancoats site. Clearly, though, it won't be ready by Monday, so number 10 North will need a temporary base. With a focus on growth, devolution, reindustrialisation and regeneration, Andy Burnham has said number 10 North will be a conduit for redistributing power and resources across the UK, overseeing the reform of some utilities and services with more public control over water, energy and transport, and taking the lead on a council house building programme described as the biggest since the post-war period. Expected to head up number 10 North is Caroline Simpson, currently Chief Exec of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, where she's worked closely with Andy Burnham, while he is apparently planning to work at the site at least one day a week.
Cross-governmental agendas are hard things to do, and you need senior leadership, officials and politicians to get it done.
Having big hitters on site, not just on teams, is important, according to Andrew Carter from the Centre for Cities think tank. In Liverpool this week to talk devolution, he told me number 10 North, done right, could benefit many places.
What's needed in Liverpool is going to be subtly different from what's needed in Manchester, and certainly different from what a place like Burnley or Barnsley is going to need. And that's where the devolution aspect comes in. We have made, and we forget this sometimes, we've made a hell of a lot of progress over the last 10, 15 years in the UK, or particularly in England, around devolution. But I think fiscal devo is the missing piece of the jigsaw. And that's an important point. We need to give those places the capability to both generate growth and tend to keep the fiscal and financial proceeds of that growth to reinvest in further rounds of growth.
We will make politics work for you and the place where you live.
That message may prove an easier sell for some than others, even here, in the part of Ancoats called New Islington, where number 10 North will be built.
I think it will feel different for people. I think people will feel more connected to what he's doing, to politics in general.
I've not been listening to him.
Have you not?
No, but I wouldn't vote for him anyway.
Why not?
I just wouldn't. I'll go for, what's he called now, Farage. the northern number 10 idea. Is it going to be across the road? So I work in like the last mill at the end, so that'll be great to have Burnham next door.
Across the M62 where I'm from, Hull, completely different to Manchester, so London, everywhere, it's very different. So I don't know how he's going to do.
How is he going to do in an age of revolving door politics? For an insight, I spoke to Donna Hall, an Andy Burnham ally and a former chief exec of Wigan Council.
It can't just be about doing what we do now in the north. It's got to be about a massive change in what we do and in the relationship between residents and decision makers and politicians in particular and public services.
As the so-called King of the North becomes the PM of the UK, he'll need to convince people all over and well beyond here that his place-first politics can work for them.
Claire Fallon. Well, I'm joined now by 3 Labour MPs from different wings of the party. Rachel Maskell on the left of the party backed Burnham and wants to see Ed Miliband as Chancellor. Before becoming an MP and a minister under Tony Blair, Graham Stringer was the leader of Manchester City Council, and Marie Tidwell has known Andy Burnham since 2012 through their shared work on disability rights, and she became an MP 2 years ago. Thanks very much for joining us. I mean, he's talked about uniting the party today and ending the factionalism. Let's see how unified you 3 are. Marie Tidwell, is he the right man for the right job? You pleased to see him today?
Absolutely thrilled. I was there back in 2012 and 2015 wanting him to be the leader of our party, and I'm absolutely delighted. And I'm joined by another 378 MP colleagues who are also supporting him, and all 23 affiliate organisations. He's got 25 years as an elected representative, and we've seen in his work as Mayor of Manchester that he is all about delivery. And I know that at heart of that is growth in every single postcode, and that really excites me. Because in areas like mine, which have been left behind for too long, that's exactly what we need.
Absolutely delighted. Is that you too, Graham Stringer?
I wish Andy well. I didn't vote for him because I don't know what he's going to do. He's given a very optimistic message today, as he always does, and that is an improvement on Keir before him. But I'd really like to see some numbers of what he's going to do, because while I always think one should try and solve problems with as many people and across party as you can, sometimes and often politics is about who gets what. And who gets what? Are resources going to be transferred from the London and the South East to the English regions? Or is devolution going to mean a bigger tax base for devolved authorities? There are a lot of answers. And the biggest questions Andy hasn't really talked about very much.
Now, Rachel Maskell,
everything depends on growth in the economy. That's everything will follow from that.
Rachel Maskell, are you backed Andy Burnham for leader? Where do you sit between an absolutely delighted Marie Tidwell and a slightly less delighted Graham Stringer, perhaps?
I'm really excited about this new chapter in Labour's story led by Andy Burnham. I think it opens up not only politics, but the whole of our country. And I think the scale of ambition, which Andy is talking about, means that everybody has an opportunity to really bring the change which is so needed in their locality. I think about my city of York, a city with a massive history about social transformation and public service reform. Now I feel we've got the opportunity to do that with the support of government, and it's those kind of transformation which will make a difference, which will encourage the regional growth we need to see, but also to ensure that people feel part of our country again, that pride in place, which I know that he brings right across the region.
I mean, talk about ambition, and Rachel, you talk about transformation. He talks about the biggest moment of political change in 4 decades. He's so far said he'll stick to the fiscal rules, says immigration has to come down, the welfare bill he wants to come down fairly, he says. He'll keep the triple lock. Marie Tidwell, that doesn't sound like massive political change.
Well, when you look at his record in Greater Manchester, that saw the biggest growth of any city region in the country. He also said today, business first, and he was really clear on the two ways of doing that. One is to make sure that we are looking at those business rates to make things fairer for pubs and our high street, something that's really important.
If all of those policy planks stay the same, where is the massive change?
But that is going to be a significant shift. Similarly, what he said on water and moving faster on things around transport. I'm also really encouraged by what he said on welfare, that it won't be a cuts first approach. I've seen what he's done in Manchester. He put disabled people's voices at the heart of that work by his disabled people's panel. He got rid of bus fare charges for them to enable them to get into work before 9:30, which was something that I was pushing for at the time, and is going to take and grasp the nettle on social care, which is one of the biggest challenges we're facing as a nation.
Just let me bring Graham in, if you would. I mean, you say, you know, you need to talk about the money, don't you? And it's the one thing that he hasn't really put any flesh on the bones. Graham?
Absolutely. You need details. I mean, I don't think I disagree with anything in Andy's optimistic rejection, but what's he going to do to improve growth? It's all right saying we want growth in every postal area. That isn't going to happen because people move about, factories close, offices shift. It's a nice phrase, but it isn't going to happen. What's he going to do about small boats? Labour will win the next election on two things. Are people feeling better off? Do they have more money in their purses and wallets? The economy? Are people employed? And have the small boats stopped coming across the channel? Those are the big issues that people talk about when you knock on the doors. It's great Andy's optimistic, but he's got to put numbers and action on those things.
I mean, Rachel Maskell, Graham Stringer has a point, doesn't he? Hope won't put food on the table and optimism won't necessarily bring bills down. I mean, why will he be more successful, do you believe, than Keir Starmer when he faces exactly the same challenges?
Same challenges, but different solutions. And I think that's what's really key. So I look at public services reform that we've been able to do in locality, where you've got the relationships, the connections, is you can cut serious money out of those budgets and reinvest them where it really matters. So being able to see that real devolution into the localities where you've got the relationships really will make a massive difference to the way that we look at our public services and engage with them, as well as, of course, supporting businesses to grow in areas of the country where we at this time have been underinvested and under-supported. So this is about releasing all the talent across the country, not just in London and the South East.
I mean, very briefly, Rachel Maskell, you know, it all depends who his Chancellor is, and that is perhaps the most contentious pick, isn't it? Who would you like to see?
Is really important to have somebody with experience. Andy Burnham has said he wants to draw on people's skills, talents and experience. So this is why I think Ed Miliband has Treasury experience, but also is a reforming politician, which if you are going to deliver this agenda, you have to bring the reform to the Treasury. He's driven his department around the climate and net zero, and he will have to drive the Treasury to deliver for him.
Sorry, I mean, Ed Miliband for Chancellor?
I wouldn't support that. Ed has done some serious damage to employment in this country with his energy policy. The most important thing about the Chancellor is that they don't frighten the markets. I think Ed Miliband would frighten the markets, which would make doing anything more expensive.
I mean, Marie Tidwell, how will he manage with the fact that there is already developing factionalism about who his Chancellor should be? And that's just, you know, a fact of life, isn't it?
I don't think it is a fact of life, and actually there needs to be a whole team approach. The Chancellor is one part of a bigger team, and we've got a great wealth of talent in our party. We've got some phenomenal women that I know he said will be at the heart of the work that he does. And
you've got quite a few people who would be very against Shabana Mahmood as Chancellor.
I don't think we're in a position that we should be speculating at this point. We will see who is his team on Monday when he is confirmed as Prime Minister. And I know he's keen to not move any faster than that and tell people before he's in that role officially. And that's right. And I'm looking forward to the team that he sets out then.
And Graham Stringer, I mean, he says on number 10 of the North, he'll lead from the front. There are already rumours that they're struggling to get civil service personnel to think about moving to the North. I mean, as a Greater Manchester MP, presumably you welcome the idea of a base in Manchester.
Oh, absolutely. And there will be a struggle. Civil servants don't like moving out of London. That's part of the problem. They have no knowledge of anything outside the orbital in London. So they will fight, as when the BBC devolved, BBC employees didn't want to come to Salford. But actually, when they got here, they've enjoyed being here, and it's improved some of the BBC's output.
Rachel Maskell, if I could ask you very quickly, you know, he's been a big campaigner on many, many issues, but campaigning in opposition is very different from being in government. When you have to say a big fat no to many people, do you think he can cope with being unpopular?
I think he's very clear-minded about his priorities, and as a result of that, he will deliver and bring the country behind those difficult decisions that he needs to make, but also to ensure that, as he has said, he will consult, he will engage before bringing forward those difficult decisions, so he knows exactly how to get the very best outcome he can out of those choices.
Rachel Maskell, Graham Stringer and Marie Tidwell, thanks very much for joining us. Thank you.